Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. We have with us Jack Derryberry, Legal Director with Disability Rights Tennessee. He's joining us via Zoom. And Jennifer Rodriguez, Executive Director of the Youth Law Center, also joining us via Zoom, talking about a report that's coming out tomorrow called Designed to Fail. It details abuses inside a juvenile detention facility run by the Department of Children's Services here in Tennessee. And the abuses are quite shocking, and it is calling for change. Now, again, we're streaming this on Facebook. There may be some comments along the lines of, this doesn't affect me, or these kids are, they've gotten in trouble, and what else are we supposed to do with them? That may be what those comments are, but I want to give each of you again a chance to address that. This is what you found here. How shocking was it? How concerning is it? And why, again, should everyone be concerned? And Jack, I'll start with you.
Well, everyone should be concerned then because the Department of Children's Services is not doing its job. Its job is to take these children as they find them, assess their needs, develop a plan to meet their needs, and then provide that plan. And if someone says it doesn't affect me, well, it is your taxpayer dollars when you go to the grocery and buy some groceries and pay a sales tax, or you buy a book at the bookstore and pay a sales tax. It affects you. It also affects you if you live in the community where these children are or know somebody who does. And just the general concern for good government and the provision of appropriate government services. And if persons are concerned about the provision of services to these youth because they feel that they have done something that is wrong, I think I would say, well, what the Department of Children's Services is doing now is wrong. It does not comply with the law. It actually makes children worse off than when they started. And it teaches children that a racially disproportionate placement of predominantly youth of color, who are also predominantly youth who have disabilities, in one place is okay. And that's not true. Aside from not being in accord with the law, it doesn't meet their needs, and it teaches them that if you are a youth of color or you are a youth with a disability, it's okay to put you in a facility that doesn't treat you like you should be treated, that makes you unsafe, that damages your mental health, and makes it less likely that you're going to come out into the community and transition as a functioning, productive adult.
And Jennifer, so Jennifer, essentially we're paying $48,000, we being taxpayers, $48,000 a day to operate this facility, and it hurts kids and makes the state less safe, according to your report, or this report. Is that right?
That's all correct. And I mean, I think the question for the public is this effective? Is the intervention that we're offering children in these facilities, does it help them? Does it help them come out and become a productive, contributing community member? And do we believe as a society that children believe that children deserve a second chance and that they are capable of changing it? And I think we have decided that collectively, that children are not to be discarded. And so then we need to make sure that we are delivering interventions that work, that are effective, and that can give some level of security to the public, that when children come out and come back home and are at school with their children, are at the grocery store with their grandmother, that they will actually have learned new behaviors, new strategies, new coping skills to deal with conflict and to be able to behave in the way that we want our neighbors to behave. And right now, even the staff at Wilder are not folks that I think the people of Tennessee want as their neighbors, right? Like, based on what we're hearing in this report. So I think that's really the question that we need to be asking: is what's happening at Wilder, is it effective?
One staff member said things there are spiraling out of control, and so what should we do? The report also says it has some recommendations. What needs to be done? And I'll start with you, Jennifer.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it's clear that the very first step has to be making sure that the children that are currently at Wilder, that they're safe. And making sure that we stop immediately, take action to stop the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the emotional abuse that's happening for children there, and end that the dangerous practices of solitary confinement. Once we've assured the safety of children immediately and stop the abuse, then we have to get to the work that Jack mentioned earlier of doing an assessment to make sure that the children who are there should actually be there. That we believe that there are many children there who actually are wrongly placed, that could be at home, could be in the community, could be in a setting where they're receiving services. And that's really going to require doing comprehensive assessments by people who are qualified to do that kind of assessment, and making sure that children get the services that they need. And then lastly, we have to tackle the big issue, the systemic issue that you mentioned earlier, and making sure that we're moving our investments and resources into the things that research tells us work, the things that research actually tells us are effective, which are largely community-based interventions that provide intensive mental health services and supports, that prioritize things like education in school, like extracurricular and community activities. We have to be making an investment in what works. And when I say systemic, I know that this report focuses on Wilder, but in the course of talking to the children at Wilder, many of them reported similar experiences at other DCS contracted juvenile justice facilities. So we know that fixing the situation at Wilder doesn't fix the whole system. We're going to really have to get to that third area of figuring out how do we, dismantle what's harming children and what is not effective for keeping our communities safe and keeping children safe, and reinvesting in what will actually work for all of us.
This report talks about violence by staff. And I know we're previewing the report, but what does that mean, Jack, when we're talking about violence by staff? And what kind of training do the staff have? Discuss in as much detail as you feel comfortable what we're talking about when it just says abuse by staff, violence by staff. What did you find?
Well, we have seen reports of incidences in which staff abused children physically. We have seen reports of staff being in situations that would suggest sexually inappropriate conduct. We have seen reports that staff would stand at the door of a bathroom and observe the youth in the shower inappropriately. So we think that the safety of kids and to be free from the trauma which is created by these instances is important. We also think it's important to look at the issue of whether or not too many psychotropic medications are being prescribed and administered to children. The American Bar Association has done a report very recently in 2016, and they said that psychotropic medications are overprescribed for court-involved children. They said that the overuse of psychotropic medications in children creates health risk. That's not an effective use of state tax dollars, and it produces bad results when these children leave this facility.
All right, we have to take a break. We will come back, and I believe it's the last segment when we come back. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.